In a world that constantly beckons us to change the external, we often forget that the most profound transformation begins within. Instead of waiting for life to offer us better circumstances, or for the world around us to align with our desires finally, we must turn inward. The key to unlocking greatness and living a life of purpose lies not in altering the external chaos, but in cultivating our inner world. Focusing on ourselves isn't merely an act of self-absorption. It is the foundation of actual change. The Stoics, ancient philosophers whose wisdom has transcended time, remind us that to make a difference in the world, we must first be the change we seek. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca spoke of the importance of mastering one's mind, developing emotional fortitude, and understanding the nature of our thoughts and desires. We can navigate the stormy seas of life with grace and poise through the continuous cultivation of inner peace, strength, and clarity. True power doesn't stem from external control or fleeting achievements. It comes from mastering our inner lives. When we focus on developing our character, understanding our emotions, and aligning our actions with our deepest values, we open the door to creating the unimaginable in our lives. We manifest a meaningful and resilient life of adversity by aligning our minds, hearts, and will with a clear purpose. This journey begins with cultivating self-awareness, learning to observe our thoughts without being consumed, understanding our desires without being enslaved to them, and navigating life's challenges with unshakable calm. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. This is not a mere quote to be memorized, but a profound principle to be embodied in every moment, decision, and interaction. This exploration will delve into ancient Stoic principles, offering insights and practical wisdom for cultivating a life of inner strength and lasting fulfillment. We will reflect on how shifting our focus inward, developing resilience, and embracing personal growth can create the foundation for surviving and thriving. Let us embark on this journey of self-mastery as we uncover the transformative power of focusing on ourselves, first within and then, in turn, shaping the world around us. 1. Ataraxia, cultivating calmness amidst life's chaos. Finding tranquility in a world that constantly pulls us in different directions can seem impossible. Yet, the Stoic philosophers taught us that true peace is not found in escaping the world or its challenges, but in our ability to remain calm in the midst of them. This state of serene clarity, known as ataraxia, is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. This mental and emotional condition allows us to navigate life's storms without being swept away. Imagine yourself at sea amidst a raging storm. The waves crash violently, the wind howls, and the sky darkens with ominous clouds. Yet, amid all this chaos, your gaze remains fixed on the horizon, unmoved by the surrounding turmoil. This is the essence of ataraxia, remaining unshaken, centered, and composed, regardless of life's challenges. It's not about denying the existence of difficulties, but about understanding that we possess the inner strength to withstand them. The Stoics believed that ataraxia was not a passive state, but an active practice, a discipline to cultivate daily. As we face personal struggles, work challenges, and emotional turbulence, it's easy to let our minds be overwhelmed by the noise of external events. But the key to ataraxia lies in our response. Instead of allowing these external disturbances to dictate our inner state, we must approach them with a clear and focused mind. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius said, "Perfect tranquility consists in the good ordering of the mind in your kingdom." He reminds us that our actual domain lies within our thoughts and perceptions, and by mastering our inner world, we can maintain peace no matter the storms that rage around us. Through consistent practice, we can learn to face life's difficulties with poise and composure rather than reacting impulsively or letting our emotions control us. In practical terms, Ataraxia requires cultivating daily habits that foster emotional stability. Meditation, mindfulness, and positive self-talk are potent tools in this process. The practice of premeditation malorum, or the premeditation of possible misfortunes, helps us mentally prepare for difficulties so that we are not caught off guard. When they arise, we visualize potential challenges and remind ourselves that we can handle whatever comes our way. In doing so, we reduce the emotional impact of these events and build resilience. Equally important is the practice of gratitude. By focusing on the good in our lives and acknowledging what we have, we shift our attention from what is lacking or uncertain to what is stable and fulfilling. This shift in focus fosters a sense of calm, grounding us in the present moment and reinforcing the belief that we have everything we need to face any situation. In moments of stress, remember that ataraxia is not a destination but a journey that requires constant mindfulness, reflection, and adaptation. Through these daily practices, we cultivate the strength to weather life's storms gracefully. As the Stoics taught, peace does not come from controlling the external world, but from mastering our response to it. When we find stillness within, we can truly live without being disturbed by the chaos around us. 2. The power of willpower. Strength through adversity. In the journey of self-mastery, there comes a moment when every external circumstance seems to conspire against us. Challenges rise like insurmountable peaks, resources are scarce, and the path ahead appears clouded by uncertainty. The test of our willpower begins in these moments, when the odds are stacked against us. The Stoics understood that life's difficulties are not obstacles to be avoided but opportunities to strengthen our inner resolve. Willpower is the muscle that, when properly trained, allows us to overcome adversity and turn hardship into a gateway for growth. Cicero, one of the most profound Stoic thinkers, emphasized that the difficulty of a task is not measured by the effort it requires, but by the will invested in it. This insight speaks directly to the heart of Stoic resilience. The idea that our true strength lies not in the situation we find ourselves in, but in how we choose to respond. Willpower is the force that drives us to keep going even when everything around us suggests we should stop. It is the determination to persevere, to rise after every fall, and to embrace failure as a stepping stone rather than a setback. When facing an overwhelming challenge, the Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control. We may not have power over external circumstances, but we always control how we approach them. We take the first step toward transforming struggle into success by breaking down large, seemingly impossible tasks into smaller, manageable pieces. The key is to begin, no matter how small the initial step may seem. As I've learned through personal experience, it is through persistent, incremental efforts that the most significant progress is made. A lack of willpower often manifests as procrastination or the tendency to give up in adversity. The Stoics believe that in those moments of weakness when we feel like giving up, our willpower needs to be exercised the most. By pushing through resistance, even when we don't feel like it, we train our minds to stay focused on the long-term goal rather than succumbing to the fleeting comfort of giving in to distractions. Every decision we make either strengthens or weakens our willpower. It is a choice. Each time we resist the temptation to deviate from our path, we build mental fortitude that helps us move closer to our purpose. As we cultivate this inner strength, we must also remember the role of reflection in shaping our willpower. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius often speaks of the importance of self-examination, of pausing to consider whether our actions align with our values and whether our efforts are moving us closer to our actual goals. By making time for introspection, we can adjust our course, refocus our energies, and reignite the fire of determination when it begins to flicker. The path to mastering our will is neither quick nor easy. It requires daily effort, deliberate action, and a deep commitment to our growth. But as we strengthen our willpower through consistent practice, we realize that we are not merely surviving life's difficulties, we are using them to forge a stronger, more resilient version of ourselves. The Stoics taught us that real power comes from within, and by training our will, we unlock the potential to transform even the most difficult circumstances into opportunities for personal development. As we face life's storms with unwavering willpower, we understand that the most significant battles are not fought against the world, but against the limitations we impose on ourselves. 3. Acceptance and strength. Finding peace in life's uncertainty. In the face of life's unpredictable currents, there is a profound power in accepting what we cannot control. The Stoics, with their timeless wisdom, teach us that true strength lies not in resisting the inevitable, but in embracing it with grace and fortitude. This principle of acceptance is perhaps one of the most challenging to embody, yet it is key to unlocking a more profound, resilient strength within us. The Stoic philosophers understood that while we cannot control the external world, we can always choose how to respond. The art of acceptance does not imply passivity or resignation, but rather a willingness to meet life on its terms, no matter how difficult the circumstances may seem. Imagine, for a moment, that you are standing at the edge of a storm. The winds are howling, the rain is pouring, and the world around you feels like it might collapse. In that moment, your first instinct might be to fight against the storm, to push back against the chaos. Yet, in the quiet wisdom of the Stoics, we learn that strength lies not in resisting the wind, but in knowing where to set the sails. To accept the wind's direction and adjust accordingly is not to surrender, but to harness the power of what is beyond our control and use it to move forward. This is where true fortitude is born. Acceptance is not about giving up or resigning ourselves to helplessness. It is about cultivating a mindset that recognizes our limitations while finding peace and strength within them. When we face life's hardships, whether personal, professional, or emotional, it's easy to become consumed by frustration, anger, or despair. But by practicing acceptance, we free ourselves from the unnecessary suffering that arises from trying to control the uncontrollable. This allows us to find clarity and focus on what truly matters: our response, actions, and ability to learn and grow from every experience. For example, the experience of losing something dear to us, a job, a relationship, or a cherished opportunity. It is natural to feel a sense of loss and frustration, to wish for things to be different. Yet, by embracing Stoic principles, we begin to understand that while we may not be able to change the external circumstances, we can always choose how we navigate the emotional waters that follow. Instead of fighting against the loss, we can see it as an opportunity for growth. Resilience is born from this shift in mindset, the ability to accept what is beyond our control and use that acceptance as a springboard for personal evolution. In my journey, I recall a time when I faced a setback that initially seemed insurmountable. I had lost a job I deeply valued due to circumstances beyond my control. At first, I was angry, confused, and uncertain about my future. But as I reflected on the teachings of the Stoics, I realized that the only thing I honestly had control over was how I chose to respond. I could either remain entrenched in my frustration or focus on what I could do next. I turned my attention inward, investing time in developing new skills and deepening my understanding of myself. What seemed like an insurmountable loss soon became a turning point, a chance to grow, learn, and emerge stronger. The Stoics urge us to ask, what can I learn from this? When faced with adversity, instead of fixating on the problem, we can shift our focus to the lessons that arise from it. By embracing life's challenges with acceptance, we open ourselves to new opportunities for growth. This mental shift makes us stronger, more resilient, and more adaptable. As Seneca wisely stated, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. By accepting life as it comes, We stop wasting our energy resisting what is beyond our control and instead invest it in the actions that will truly move us forward. In times of uncertainty, the Stoics remind us that peace is found in accepting the flow of life. By learning to let go of the need to control every outcome, we create the mental and emotional space necessary to navigate life's storms with wisdom and strength. Through acceptance, we gain the clarity to see beyond the chaos and the inner strength to face whatever comes our way with courage and calm. 4. Living in the present. The art of mindfulness in a distracted world. Living in the present moment can seem like a lost art in a world constantly bombarding us with distractions. We are often preoccupied with the past, caught up in regret or nostalgia, or overwhelmed with the future, anxiously anticipating what might happen. Yet, the Stoics understood that true peace and happiness reside not in clinging to the past or worrying about the future, but fully embracing the present. The concept of mindfulness, being fully aware and engaged in the current moment, is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, and it is through this practice that we can find the clarity, focus, and tranquility necessary for personal growth. To live in the present is to free ourselves from the mental chains of regret and worry. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, implores us to focus on the task, reminding us that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. When we allow ourselves to dwell in the past or fret about the future, we squander the precious time before us. However fleeting, the present moment is the only moment we can influence. In this moment, we make decisions, take action, and shape our future. By learning to appreciate the present, we experience life more fully, with a sense of gratitude and awareness that often goes unnoticed. The practice of mindfulness requires intentional effort. It is not simply about being physically present in a moment, but about being mentally and emotionally engaged in that moment as well. Whether savoring the sun's warmth on our skin, appreciating a meal's flavor, or listening to another person, mindfulness immerses us entirely in the experience without distraction or judgment. This practice brings us back to our true selves, away from the noise of the external world, allowing us to cultivate a deeper connection with our inner selves and the world around us. One of the most powerful ways to practice mindfulness is through observation. The Stoics often practiced a form of mindful observation where they would pause and take note of their surroundings, whether it was the beauty of nature, the sounds of the environment, or the simple act of breathing. This observation trains the mind to stay present and focused, clearing the clutter of extraneous thoughts. Doing so can increase our awareness and deepen our connection to the moment. It becomes a form of meditation that strengthens our mental discipline and emotional resilience, allowing us to stay calm and composed even in the most challenging circumstances. In my own life, practicing mindfulness, even in the smallest of moments, has made a profound difference. For instance, when walking through the park, I deliberately focus on the sensations in my body, the feeling of my feet on the ground, the rhythm of my breath, and the sights and sounds surrounding me. By fully engaging in these simple experiences, I find my mind quieter and my spirit more at ease. I am no longer consumed by the worries of the future or the regrets of the past. Instead, I am grounded in the present, where true peace resides. Mindfulness also enhances our decision-making. When fully present, our minds are more transparent, and our judgments are less clouded by emotional reactivity or unconscious biases. In these moments of stillness, we can better align our decisions with our core values and long-term goals. The Stoics taught that clarity of thought is essential for making virtuous choices. When we are not distracted by past failures or future fears, we can act in a way that reflects our best selves, leading to a life of purpose and fulfillment. To live in the present is to embrace the gift of life as it is, without the burden of unnecessary mental clutter. Through this practice, we can cultivate true tranquility and strength in the present moment. In the words of Epictetus, We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. By choosing to live in the present, we take back control over our minds and reclaim our peace. 5. Virtue as a guide. The Stoic path to meaningful living. In a world that often tempts us to seek shortcuts, instant gratification, and external validation, the Stoic philosophers offer a timeless and profound alternative: virtue as the compass by which we navigate life. Pursuing virtue, cultivating wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance is not merely an abstract moral concept but a practical guiding principle for leading a meaningful, fulfilled, and resilient life. For the Stoics, virtue was the only true good, the foundation upon which all other aspects of life must be built. It is the path through which we discover our true potential and lead lives aligned with our highest values. To live virtuously is to choose the harder but ultimately more rewarding path that requires inner strength, self-discipline, and unwavering commitment to principles that transcend the fleeting desires of the moment. The Stoics understood that life is filled with challenges, contradictions, and moral dilemmas, and that our character is forged not in times of ease, but in the moments when we are called to make difficult decisions. Wisdom, the first of the Stoic virtues, is the light that guides us through these uncertainties. It is not merely the accumulation of knowledge, but the application of that knowledge in practical ways to lead a life of integrity. Wisdom is the ability to discern what is truly important, to separate the transient from the lasting, and to choose actions that are in harmony with nature and reason. Courage, another pillar of Stoic virtue, is the strength to act in alignment with our wisdom, even in the face of fear or adversity. It is not the absence of fear, but the ability to take meaningful action despite it. Courage allows us to stand firm in our beliefs, to speak the truth when it is unpopular, and to confront life's uncertainties with grace and resolve. The Stoic practice of premeditation malorum, or premeditated on the worst-case scenarios, equips us with the mental fortitude to face whatever challenges life throws our way. By mentally preparing for the worst, we remove the element of fear and can act with extraordinary courage, clarity, and confidence when faced with adversity. Justice, the third Stoic virtue, calls us to act with fairness, to put the well-being of others alongside our own, and to uphold the dignity and rights of every individual. Justice is about abiding by laws or societal norms, supporting the common good, and contributing to the community's well-being. It is treating others with respect and empathy and recognizing that our actions impact far beyond ourselves. When we act justly, we align our behavior with the idea that everyone deserves dignity, compassion, and understanding, regardless of their status or circumstances. Temperance, the final Stoic virtue, teaches us to exercise self-control and moderation in all aspects of life. It is the antidote to excess, the practice of finding balance in a world that often encourages indulgence. Temperance is not about denying ourselves pleasure, but about ensuring that our desires do not control us. It is the wisdom to know when enough is enough, when to stop chasing external rewards, and when to turn inward to seek peace and contentment in the present moment. Through temperance, we learn to prioritize what truly matters: inner peace, virtuous living, and the cultivation of meaningful relationships, over fleeting pleasures that ultimately leave us empty. Living according to these virtues is challenging, but is the only path to true freedom and fulfillment. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." By committing ourselves to virtue, we take ownership of our lives and the direction in which we are headed. Each choice and action becomes an opportunity to practice wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, gradually shaping us into individuals who are not swayed by the whims of external circumstances but are firmly rooted in our values. In a chaotic and unpredictable world, the Stoic virtues offer a steady and reliable framework for living a life of integrity and purpose. By choosing to live by virtue, we build character and create a meaningful, fulfilling, and resilient life in the face of challenges. As Seneca wisely said, one does not enjoy a full life without challenges. The Stoics knew that pursuing virtue is a lifelong journey that brings us closer to our true selves, cultivates strength and wisdom, and ultimately leads to a life of greater peace, fulfillment, and harmony. 6. Self-knowledge and self-reflection, the path to authentic growth. Few practices are as essential as self-knowledge in pursuing personal growth and wisdom. The Stoics believe that true transformation begins not with external circumstances, but with an honest and rigorous understanding of ourselves. Self-reflection is the lens through which we view our thoughts, behaviors, and motivations, allowing us to see where we fall short and improve. It is the foundation of all meaningful progress, for it is only when we know ourselves that we can align our lives with our highest values and goals. Epictetus, in his famous teachings, implored us to know thyself, a principle rooted in ancient wisdom that remains as vital today as it was in the time of the Stoics. To honestly know oneself is not simply to understand our strengths, but to confront our weaknesses honestly and without judgment. It is to become aware of our behavior patterns, automatic responses to life's challenges, and the underlying beliefs that guide our decisions. Only by shedding the illusions and false narratives we often construct around ourselves can we begin to build an authentic and purposeful life. Self-reflection is a continuous process that requires time, patience, and courage to face the uncomfortable truths about ourselves. It's easy to look outward and blame circumstances or other people for our struggles, but the Stoics teach us that our real power lies in our ability to look inward. We must take responsibility for our actions, thoughts, and reactions, for they are the only things within our control. By examining ourselves deeply, we can uncover the root causes of our suffering and identify the areas where we need to grow. This process of introspection allows us to cultivate a mindset of self-awareness, which is the first step toward true freedom. In my own life, I have found that regular self-reflection has been transformative. It's easy to become caught up in the hustle of daily life, reacting to circumstances without truly understanding why we feel the way we do or behave the way we do. But through journaling, meditation, and quiet reflection, I've learned to slow down and observe my thoughts without judgment. This simple act of pausing, of becoming the observer of my mind, has allowed me to make more intentional choices and respond to challenges with greater wisdom and equanimity. I gain clarity on what truly matters to me by continually assessing my actions. I align my efforts with those values rather than being swept away by the world's distractions. The Stoics also teach us that self-knowledge is not just about identifying our flaws, but cultivating our virtues. As we reflect on our actions and thoughts, we must also ask ourselves how to become better versions of ourselves. What virtues do we wish to embody? How can we develop courage in the face of fear, patience in times of frustration, and wisdom in moments of uncertainty? Self-knowledge leads us to these answers, guiding us toward cultivating virtue as a daily practice rather than a distant idea. Self-reflection also encourages us to embrace the idea of growth through adversity. The Stoics understood that life's difficulties are not barriers to our progress but growth opportunities. Every challenge we face, whether it is a personal crisis, a failure, or a setback, is a mirror that reflects where we need to grow. By reflecting on these moments, rather than avoiding or resenting them, we open ourselves to new insights and deeper understanding. Through this process, we learn about the world and our capacity for strength and transformation. As we continue on the path of self-reflection, we become more attuned to our true selves, more aligned with our purpose, and more capable of living a life that reflects our deepest values. Self-knowledge is the bedrock of authentic growth. It is through understanding who we are, at our core, that we can craft a life of meaning, virtue, and fulfillment. This process is not a one-time event, but a lifelong commitment to continually unfolding our potential. In the end, self-discovery is not about achieving perfection, but embracing wisdom to handle ourselves honestly. Through this pursuit, we unlock the door to a life well lived, one rooted in authenticity, clarity, and strength. 7. Controlling emotions, mastery over the inner storm. Emotions are a powerful force within us, often acting as both a guide and a disruptor in our daily lives. The Stoics, however, understood that while we cannot always control the external events that stir our emotions, we can control our reactions. This wisdom, found in the heart of Stoic philosophy, teaches us that emotional mastery is not about suppressing or denying our feelings but transforming them, choosing how to respond rather than simply reacting. To control one's emotions is to gain true freedom, rise above the fleeting whims of the moment, and act by reason, purpose, and virtue. Emotions are often seen as spontaneous impulses. Can usually feel uncontrollable. However, the Stoics taught that our beliefs and judgments about the events around us provoke these emotions. We can prevent emotions from overtaking us by shifting our perspective and training ourselves to view challenges and adversities through wisdom. Through this mental discipline and conscious thought process, we can begin to master our emotions rather than allowing them to master us. One of the most profound Stoic practices for emotional control is the technique of premeditation malorum, or premeditation of evils. This exercise involves mentally preparing ourselves for the difficulties and challenges we may face each day. By vividly imagining potential personal, professional, or societal hardships, we arm ourselves with the foresight to handle these difficulties with equanimity. When the worst happens, it is no longer a shock, but simply an opportunity to respond calmly and clearly. This mental preparation eliminates the power of surprise, which often fuels emotional turmoil, transforming potential crises into manageable experiences. Another essential Stoic practice for emotional regulation is emotional distancing or objectification. This practice involves creating a mental separation between ourselves and our emotions, allowing us to observe them without being engulfed. Instead of saying, "I am angry," we shift our language to say, "Anger is present." This subtle shift helps us recognize that emotions are temporary states, not permanent aspects of our identity. They come and go like passing clouds in the sky. By viewing our emotions as transient, we disempower them and regain control over how we respond. We can observe them, acknowledge their presence, and act by reason rather than reacting impulsively. In my own experience, the practice of emotional distancing has been transformative. When faced with a stressful situation, whether at work, in relationships, or within my personal life, I pause and take a step back. I remind myself that I am not my emotions but the observer of them. In this moment of pause, I can choose a rational course of action rather than being swept away by the tide of anger, frustration, or fear. This practice enhances my resilience and allows me to make decisions that are more thoughtful, measured, and aligned with my deeper values. The Stoics also understood that emotional control is intricately linked to the mind's ability to focus on the present moment. When we allow our minds to wander, dwelling on past mistakes or worrying about future outcomes, we give power to emotions not grounded in the present reality. Mindfulness, therefore, becomes a key ally in emotional regulation. By training ourselves to stay present and to focus on the task at hand, we reduce the space for unnecessary emotional turmoil to arise. In this way, emotional control is not a matter of willpower alone, but of mental clarity and focus. Emotional mastery is not about eliminating emotions, but cultivating the wisdom to navigate them with composure and insight. As the Stoics remind us, we cannot control the events of the world, but we can always control how we respond to them. We cultivate the strength to face any situation calmly and clearly through premeditation, emotional distancing, and mindfulness. This mastery over our inner storm allows us to live with greater peace, purpose, and authenticity. By recognizing that our true power lies in our ability to choose our reactions, we unlock the ability to transform our emotional landscape and, in turn, our lives. 8. The power of gratitude, transforming life through appreciation. In a world that constantly urges us to strive for more and accumulate wealth, success, and possessions, it can be easy to overlook gratitude's simple yet profound power. The Stoics, however, understood that true contentment does not arise from the endless pursuit of external goods, but from cultivating a grateful heart. Gratitude, in its most Stoic form, recognizes and appreciates our abundance rather than yearning for what we lack. It is the ability to see the richness of life in every moment, regardless of the challenges we may face. The Stoics teach us that everything in life, even suffering, is a gift, an opportunity for growth, reflection, and wisdom. Epictetus famously said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Gratitude is not just a feeling but a conscious choice to appreciate the present moment, acknowledge the blessings surrounding us, and find peace in what is. By shifting our focus from what we don't have to what we do have, we cultivate a sense of inner peace and enrich our emotional resilience. Gratitude, when practiced consistently, becomes a transformative force. It is easy to become consumed by life's challenges, to fixate on what's going wrong, or to dwell on past mistakes. But the Stoics remind us that this perspective keeps us trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction and discontent. Gratitude, however, allows us to break free from this cycle. It enables us to see the beauty in everyday life, the warmth of a loved one's embrace, the joy of a simple meal, the quiet moments of reflection that offer us clarity amidst chaos. Though often overlooked, these moments hold the seeds of true happiness and fulfillment. To practice gratitude in a Stoic way is to do so with intention. It's not simply about acknowledging the good when it's convenient, but about being thankful in all circumstances, even when life is complicated. The Stoics encouraged us to reflect daily, where we consider our blessings, no matter how small. I have found that taking time each day to write down 3 things I am grateful for, a quiet moment in the morning, a lesson learned through hardship, or the support of a friend, helps ground me in the present and shifts my mindset. In times of difficulty, this practice reminds me that there is always something to appreciate, even in adversity. Gratitude also shifts our focus outward. It connects us to others, reminding us that we are part of a larger tapestry of life. The Stoics believed in the interconnectedness of all people and that the well-being of others is deeply tied to our own. By practicing gratitude, we develop more compassion, empathy, and understanding toward those around us. We become more attuned to the needs of others and more willing to offer kindness and support because we recognize that we are all navigating life's challenges together. As I reflect on my journey, I see how the practice of gratitude has transformed my perspective on life. It has helped me to embrace the challenges I face with greater equanimity, to find lessons in every experience, and to appreciate the gifts of each day, regardless of how it unfolds. Gratitude has taught me to stop waiting for the future to bring fulfillment, and instead find contentment in life's simple joys in the present moment. The Stoics remind us that true wealth is found in the abundance of our internal world, not in external possessions. By practicing gratitude, we align ourselves with this Stoic truth. We learn to find peace in what we have, value the present moment, and recognize life's richness in every experience. Through gratitude, we begin to cultivate a sense of peace that no external circumstance can disturb, and through this practice, we unlock the most profound forms of joy and fulfillment. Gratitude, as the Stoics taught, is not just an attitude. It is a way of life, a way of seeing the world that can transform our hearts and minds. 9. The art of letting go, finding freedom in detachment. In a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, we often find ourselves weighed down by attachments, whether to people, possessions, or outcomes. Though seemingly harmless, these attachments can subtly shape our thoughts and actions, leading us to chase after what we cannot control and fixate on what we may never attain. The Stoic philosophers, however, offer a powerful antidote to this form of mental and emotional enslavement: the art of detachment. To detach is not to abandon or ignore, but to accept and release, to let go of the need to control everything around us and embrace the fluidity of life. Through detachment, we reclaim our power, freeing ourselves from the tyranny of expectation and embracing the peace that comes with knowing that not everything is meant to be held on to. The Stoics understood that attachment is a source of suffering. Epictetus teaches us that freedom is the only thing worth seeking. Freedom is often found in acceptance, accepting that we do not control everything, that life is inherently uncertain, and that we cannot dictate the course of events. This principle of detachment is about acknowledging the fleeting nature of all things. People, possessions, and experiences come and go, and holding on too tightly to them creates unnecessary distress. The more we try to hold on, the more we bind ourselves to the ebb and flow of life's changing tides. But when we learn to release our grip, to accept the impermanence of everything, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. Detachment, in its most accurate form, is not about indifference but a deep understanding of what is within our control and what is not. By recognizing the limits of our influence, we can focus our energy on the things that truly matter: our thoughts, actions, and responses. We are no longer victims of external events when we stop trying to force outcomes or cling to what we cannot keep. Instead, we become masters of our inner world, able to face each moment with serenity and clarity, regardless of what the external world presents. In my journey, the practice of detachment has allowed me to experience life with greater peace. There was a time when I felt overwhelmed by my attachment to expectations of success, approval, and how life should unfold. These attachments created a constant sense of tension, and I was always striving for something just to reach. But by embracing the Stoic practice of detachment, I began to release the need for things to be a certain way. Instead of resisting change or clinging to past outcomes, I learned to flow with the current of life, accepting whatever came my way as an opportunity to grow. Through this shift, I discovered a profound sense of inner peace that was not dependent on external circumstances, but rooted in accepting life. Detachment also encourages us to find freedom in the present moment. When we detach from expectations about the future or regrets about the past, we become fully immersed in the here and now. We experience each moment without judgment or attachment, allowing us to appreciate life in its rawest, most authentic form. The Stoics often practiced mindfulness this way, by engaging fully in the present and letting go of the need to manipulate or control the outcomes. This practice allows us to experience life more deeply, with greater awareness and gratitude, and to find joy in the simple, unadorned moments that often go unnoticed. The power of detachment is most evident when we face challenges. Life will inevitably bring us hardships, losses, and moments of pain. But through detachment, we can approach these difficulties with resilience and grace. Instead of being crushed by the weight of loss or failure, we accept these experiences as part of the human condition, impermanent, transient, and not a reflection of our worth or ability. By practicing detachment, we learn to find strength in acceptance, using each challenge as an opportunity to grow and evolve. In the end, detachment is not about withdrawing from life or becoming disconnected from the world. It is about learning to let go of the need to control, embrace the fluidity of existence, and live with an open heart. As the Stoics teach, the key to lasting peace is not in the external world but in our ability to detach from the things we cannot control and focus on what we can. cultivating inner peace, strength, and wisdom. Through the art of detachment, we find true freedom. The freedom to live fully, to experience life without fear, and to grow into the best version of ourselves. 10. Learning to not care about what others think. The path to true freedom. In a world constantly filled with opinions, judgments, and external expectations, learning to free ourselves from the influence of others' thoughts and criticisms is one of the most potent forms of liberation. The Stoic philosophers understood that our actual value does not come from the approval or disapproval of others, but from our sense of self and the alignment of our actions with our core principles. To live a life rooted in virtue and authenticity, we must let go of the need to seek external validation constantly. Independence of thought is the hallmark of a person who is not swayed by the transient opinions of the crowd, but stands firm in their understanding of what is proper. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius often reminds us of the importance of looking inward rather than outward for validation. He famously wrote, "The greatest part of progress is the desire to progress," emphasizing that our worth lies in our inner work, not in the fleeting praise or criticism of others. The Stoics teach that we must not allow the opinions of others to determine how we feel about ourselves. Instead, we must cultivate a deep understanding of who we are, guided by our virtues and principles, not by the ever-changing judgments of society. This Stoic principle of self-mastery is about reclaiming control over our lives and minds. When we allow ourselves to be consumed by the thoughts and judgments of others, we relinquish our power. We give up our sense of direction and purpose, becoming mere reflections of what others think of us. To live authentically is to act by our values, not based on what we think others expect of us. It is the courage to speak our truth, make decisions that align with our purpose, and trust that our choices are valid because they are rooted in our understanding of the world. In my life, I have found that the more I detach from the need for external approval, the more I become at peace. There was a time when I constantly sought validation from those around me, whether through praise or approval. This need for affirmation created a constant sense of unease. I was never genuinely content because I always looked to others to tell me I was on the right path. However, through the practice of Stoic principles, I learned that true freedom comes from turning inward. When I began to focus on living according to my values and principles, I stopped seeking others' approval and, in doing so, found a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. I understood that others' perceptions did not define my worth, but by my actions to align myself with virtue. Learning to not care about what others think does not mean we become indifferent or disrespectful to others. It means we stop letting external opinions dictate our emotional and mental states. It is about freeing ourselves from the constant pressure to conform to societal expectations. When we become less concerned with how others perceive us, we can truly embrace our uniqueness, pursuing the things that matter most to us and living in alignment with our truth. We decide based on what is right, not what will be most popular or most approved. The Stoics also teach that external validation is fleeting and unreliable. No matter how well-intentioned, praise from others is often driven by their biases, needs, and limitations. In a world where opinions constantly shift, our inner compass is the only stable source of validation. By learning to trust in our judgment, we free ourselves from the chains of approval and criticism, gaining the mental clarity and peace needed to make decisions that reflect our highest aspirations. In the end, not caring about what others think is not a call for arrogance or disregard for others. It calls for self-respect and self-trust, a reminder that we are the ultimate arbiters of our worth and actions. As we understand who we are and what we stand for, we gain the strength to live by our values, undeterred by the noise of external opinions. This journey of self-empowerment is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves, for it leads to a life of authenticity, peace, and unwavering purpose. The Stoic path teaches us that we can only find true freedom when we stop looking outward for validation and start looking inward for strength. 11. Facing fear and building courage. The Stoic approach to conquering life's challenges. Fear is an inevitable part of the human experience, a powerful force that has the potential to either paralyze us or propel us toward personal growth. In a world filled with uncertainty, the Stoics believe that facing fear is an occasional necessity and an ongoing practice that cultivates our courage and shapes our character. The Stoic approach to fear is rooted not in the denial or avoidance of it, but in learning to confront it directly, with clarity and purpose. Fear is not something to be overcome through force, but understood, accepted, and used as a stepping stone toward greater inner strength and wisdom. For the Stoics, fear was a natural response to perceived danger, but it was also a product of our judgments and beliefs about those dangers. In his writings, Epictetus famously taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Fear often arises when we let our minds catastrophize about the future or place too much importance on external outcomes. The Stoics understood that we cannot always control the events around us, but we can control how we respond to them. By changing our mindset and learning to see fear as an opportunity for growth, we build the mental fortitude necessary to face life's challenges with resilience. The first step in confronting fear is acknowledging its presence without judgment. Too often, we push our fears aside, hoping they will disappear independently. Yet, the Stoics recognize that courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. Fear loses its power over us when we allow it to be seen clearly without letting it dictate our behavior. By naming our fears and confronting them head-on, we remove their control over us. Whether it's the fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown, we must accept that fear will always be a part of life. But we also have the power to choose how we respond to it. Building courage, according to the Stoics, is a process that requires constant practice. Courage is not a trait we are born with, but a muscle we develop over time by consistently pushing ourselves out of our comfort zones. The Stoics practiced premeditation malorum, or the premeditation of evils, to mentally prepare for the worst-case scenarios. By vividly imagining the challenges and adversities that may arise, we can mentally rehearse how we would respond, reducing the fear of the unknown and increasing our confidence in our ability to face whatever comes our way. When we envision worst-case outcomes, we rob them of their power to shock or overwhelm us. We understand that no matter what happens, we have the resources within us to handle it with strength and composure. In my own life, I've realized that the moments I feared most often turned out to be transformative and faced insurmountable challenges. I found that my courage grew from avoiding fear and facing it head-on. Despite the discomfort or uncertainty, each step forward built my confidence and resilience. The more I practiced embracing fear, the more I realized that it was not something to be avoided, but used as fuel for growth. With each act of courage, we deepen our capacity to handle future fears more easily and clearly. Stoic philosophers also taught that courage is closely tied to our values and ability to act in alignment with them, regardless of the circumstances. Fear has less room to take root when we are clear about what we stand for. Courage is the ability to take action consistent with our virtues, even in adversity. It's about standing up for what is right, speaking the truth, and making choices that reflect our deepest values, even when it feels uncomfortable or risky. The more we act by our principles, the stronger our courage becomes. The Stoics believe that it is not the outcome of our actions that defines our courage, but the willingness to act in alignment with our higher purpose, regardless of the external result. In the end, building courage is a journey that requires patience, self-awareness, and consistent practice. By facing our fears, acknowledging their presence, and acting despite them, we build the mental strength to navigate life's challenges and cultivate the virtues that define us as Stoics. When exercised regularly, courage becomes an internal force that empowers us to live with authenticity, resilience, and unwavering commitment to our purpose. The Stoics remind us that the accurate measure of our character is not found in the ease of our lives, but in our ability to rise to the occasion, no matter how daunting the task. By facing fear head-on, we learn to overcome it and harness it as a tool for growth, making each challenge an opportunity to strengthen our resolve and build the courage to live fully and fearlessly. 12. Moderation and balance, the Stoic art of living with purpose. In a world of excess and extremes, the Stoic philosophy offers a timeless lesson on the power of moderation. Pursuing balance is not acting responsibly against external forces, but alienating an ongoing desire, choice, and world relationship. To live with moderation is to recognize the dangers of indulgence and the importance of self-control, a key aspect of Stoic practice that enables us to align our actions with our actual values rather than being driven by fleeting pleasures or societal pressures. Moderation is not about denial or deprivation. It is about finding equilibrium in all things, living a life where our needs are met without excess and our passions are tempered by reason. The Stoics believed excessive desires and unrestrained passions were at the root of much human suffering. In his writings, Seneca reminds us that the greatest wealth is to live content with little, teaching that true abundance lies not in the accumulation of material possessions, but in the ability to find fulfillment with what we have. This perspective encourages us to shift our focus from what is extravagant to what is sufficient, helping us recognize that contentment is not found in external accumulation, but in the mastery of our inner world. When we practice moderation, we are no longer ruled by our impulses or driven by the desire for things that do not contribute to our well-being or purpose. Moderation also requires us to exercise wisdom in engaging with the world. It teaches us to examine our desires and motivations critically, understanding that just because something is available or tempting does not mean it is necessary or beneficial. The Stoics advocated for living with intention, making choices that align with our values rather than succumbing to the pressures of convenience or social influence. This approach requires self-discipline and the willingness to resist the urge to overindulge in food, wealth, power, or even emotions. Each act of moderation, whether resisting the temptation of excessive materialism or refraining from emotional outbursts, is an act of personal empowerment, a step toward living a life rooted in virtue and clarity. In my own life, I have found that moderation has brought a sense of peace and focus that I did not know was possible when I was caught up in the pursuit of excess. In the past, I often sought satisfaction in external achievements, working harder, acquiring more, and seeking approval. Yet, as I embraced the Stoic practice of moderation, I realized that true fulfillment comes not from accumulating more, but from learning to live in harmony with what I already have. This shift allowed me to experience greater joy in simple things, spending quality time with loved ones, engaging in meaningful work, and enjoying moments of quiet reflection. Through moderation, I discovered a more profound sense of satisfaction. This contentment arises not from what is acquired, but from the ability to appreciate and value the present moment without needing more. According to the Stoics, balance is also about managing our emotional responses with reason and thoughtfulness. It is easy to become overwhelmed by life's ups and downs and to react impulsively to adversity or success. However, the Stoic virtue of temperance teaches us to remain steady in moments of triumph and hardship. When we practice balance, we avoid swinging between extremes of elation and despair, maintaining a calm and rational approach to whatever life presents. This emotional equilibrium allows us to respond to challenges with resilience and clarity, making decisions that align with our values, not our immediate emotional reactions. The journey toward moderation and balance is not self-denial but self-empowerment. It is the ability to make deliberate choices guided by reason and rooted in the understanding that true happiness comes from mastering our desires, not indulging them. The Stoics remind us that our happiness depends not on the external world, but on our internal state. By choosing moderation, we find freedom from the cycles of excess and dissatisfaction that often define modern life. We discover that we can live more deeply, authentically, and meaningfully by having less. In the end, moderation is not a rigid rule but a principle that invites us to engage with life thoughtfully and purposefully. By embracing balance, we create space for true contentment and personal growth, allowing us to live in harmony with our values and world. The Stoic path to moderation teaches us that the key to a fulfilling life is not accumulating wealth, status, or pleasure, but cultivating inner peace, wisdom, and self-control. Through this practice, we not only find a way to live in the present, but we also unlock the freedom to live a life that is truly our own, guided by reason and grounded in virtue. 13. Integrity and honesty, the Stoic foundation for a life of true fulfillment. In a world often driven by convenience, external appearances, and fleeting desires, the Stoic philosophy calls us to live lives of integrity and honesty, essential for true fulfillment and personal growth. In the Stoic sense, integrity is not merely about adhering to moral principles, but about aligning every action, thought, and decision with our deepest values. It is a commitment to living authentically, without pretense, and in harmony with the truth. Likewise, honesty is not just about telling the truth to others, but about being truthful to ourselves and recognizing the reality of our lives, limitations, and potential. To live with integrity and honesty is to build a foundation of trust and clarity that can withstand the challenges and temptations of the world. The Stoics understood that our character is not defined by our external achievements or the opinions of others, but by the choices we make when no one is watching. In his Meditations, Marcus Aurelius writes, "The best way to get back at someone is not to be like them." This timeless wisdom reminds us that integrity is not about seeking revenge or self-interest, but about holding steadfast to our principles in the face of adversity. Our 4 lives are more prosperous and meaningful when we act according to our values and live truthfully and with honor. Integrity becomes the compass by which we navigate the complexities of life, allowing us to make decisions that are true to our character, even when it would be easier to compromise. Honesty is the most difficult practice to embrace, not because it is inherently challenging, but because it requires us to confront the truth about ourselves and the world. For many of us, self-deception is a natural defense mechanism against the discomfort of facing our shortcomings or the brutal truths about our circumstances. But the Stoics knew that it is only through embracing self-awareness and honesty that we can begin to grow. Living honestly means recognizing our flaws, admitting our mistakes, and taking responsibility for our actions. It is about looking at ourselves clearly, without the rose-colored lens of self-justification. This brutal honesty is the bedrock upon which personal transformation is built. In my own life, I've found that the more I embrace integrity and honesty, the more peace I experience. There was a time when I would allow myself to justify small compromises in my actions, whether bending the truth to avoid conflict or taking shortcuts to achieve quick results. These slight deviations from integrity may have seemed harmless, but over time, they accumulated, leading to a sense of internal dissonance and unease. When I began to practice Stoic principles and aligned my actions with my deepest values, I found a profound sense of inner peace that I had long sought outside of myself. Honesty with myself about my motivations, desires, and mistakes became a source of strength, not weakness, allowing me to live more authentically. The Stoic practice of self-reflection is a powerful tool for cultivating integrity and honesty. By taking time each day to reflect on our actions and decisions, we can assess whether we are truly living in alignment with our values. Are we acting with courage, wisdom, and justice? Are we being honest with ourselves about our desires and our limitations? These questions help us stay grounded in the truth, reminding us that integrity is not just an abstract ideal but a living, breathing practice that we must engage with daily. Integrity also requires courage to be true to ourselves, even when the world rewards dishonesty, manipulation, or compromise. Living honestly means facing uncomfortable truths and having the courage to act on them. The Stoics teach us that the path to virtue is not easy, but it is through living with integrity and honesty that we cultivate the strength to withstand life's storms. When we remain faithful to our values, we become immune to the whims of external validation and fleeting success. We find fulfillment in the quiet confidence of knowing we act according to what is right. Living with integrity and honesty is about building character and creating a life of deep, authentic fulfillment. By acting with integrity, we align ourselves with the world's natural order, which the Stoics believed was governed by reason and virtue. We open ourselves to continuous growth, learning, and transformation through honesty. These two virtues, integrity and honesty, are the foundations upon which we can build a life of purpose and peace that aligns with our deepest aspirations. The Stoic path teaches us that when we are true to ourselves and act with honor, we live by the highest truth, and in doing so, we unlock the freedom to live fully and without regret. 14. Acceptance of fate, the Stoic wisdom of embracing life's uncertainties. In the face of life's inevitable challenges and hardships, the Stoic philosophy offers a radical yet profoundly liberating principle: accepting fate. To the Stoics, fate was not something to be resisted, feared, or resented, but something to be embraced with grace and understanding. This acceptance does not imply passivity or complacency, but rather an active embrace of the present moment, recognizing that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond. The Stoic understanding of fate encourages us to align ourselves with the natural flow of the universe, to accept that not all things are within our power, and to focus instead on cultivating the virtue to meet life's challenges with wisdom, resilience, and dignity. The Stoics believe that external events, the things that happen to us, are often beyond our control. Whether it's the loss of a job, the illness of a loved one, or the disappointment of unfulfilled expectations, we will inevitably face situations that shake us to our core. However, the Stoic sages, such as Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, taught us how to meet these challenges and continuously define us. Fate is not something to battle against, but to accept with courage and composure. By surrendering to the flow of life and accepting the things we cannot change, we free ourselves from the constant struggle to control or manipulate the external world. Instead, we focus on cultivating the inner strength and virtue that allows us to navigate adversity with grace and purpose. Acceptance of fate requires a shift in perspective, recognizing that life's uncertainties and challenges are not barriers to our happiness but growth opportunities. When accepting that we cannot always control our circumstances, we release ourselves from unnecessary worry and anxiety. Control over external events is an illusion, but control over our thoughts, emotions, and actions is where our true power lies. The Stoics remind us that peace does not come from manipulating the world around us and mastering our responses. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This strength comes from inner freedom, the ability to meet whatever life throws our way without being swept away." The acceptance of fate also teaches us to appreciate the impermanence of life. Change is an inevitable part of existence, and the Stoics understood that fighting against the natural ebb and flow of life only leads to frustration and sorrow. Everything, success, failure, pleasure, pain, is transient. To become attached to any outcome or experience is to invite suffering. The Stoic practice of acceptance encourages us to hold all things loosely, appreciating them in the moment without clinging to them. This understanding of the impermanence of life allows us to embrace both the joy and the pain that come our way, knowing that each moment is an opportunity to practice virtue, resilience, and equanimity. In my journey, I've learned that the more I accept life as it is rather than how I think it should be, the more I become at peace. There was a time when I struggled against every setback, clinging to the belief that I could control the outcome of every situation. I would fight against disappointment, frustration, and failure, thinking that if I pushed harder or wished things were different, I could change the course of events. Over time, however, I realized that true peace comes from accepting the uncontrollable and controlling my reaction. When I let go of the need to change what was out of my hands, I found that I could face life's difficulties with a clearer mind and a stronger heart. While paradoxical to many, the Stoic practice of accepting fate ultimately led me to greater inner freedom and peace. The acceptance of fate also encourages a deep sense of humility. By recognizing that we are not the masters of the universe, we come to see our place within it, not as rulers but as participants in a larger, interconnected whole. This understanding cultivates a sense of gratitude for our life, with its ups and downs, and helps us embrace every moment as a gift. When we stop resisting the flow of life, we begin to see that even the most difficult experiences are part of a more outstanding design, leading us toward more profound wisdom, greater strength, and a fuller understanding of ourselves. Ultimately, the Stoic acceptance of fate teaches us that freedom is not about controlling the world around us, but cultivating the power to respond to it with wisdom, resilience, and virtue. The world will always be unpredictable, and we cannot control the unfolding events. However, we can choose how we meet them, react, and grow from them. By accepting fate, we free ourselves from the tyranny of expectations, and in doing so, we unlock the true peace and freedom that comes from living in harmony with the world as it is. The Stoic way of life encourages us to accept what we cannot change, and in doing so, we find the strength to change the only thing we honestly can, ourselves. Conclusion. As we conclude our journey through Stoic philosophy, we must reflect on its timeless wisdom and how it can guide us to live lives of greater peace, purpose, and virtue. The Stoics believe that true freedom lies not in controlling the world around us, but in mastering our internal world. Through practices like self-reflection, acceptance of fate, courage in the face of fear, and living with integrity, we can build the mental resilience necessary to navigate life's challenges with grace and wisdom. The path of Stoicism is not easy, but it is easy to achieve these profound forms of personal fulfillment, a life lived in alignment with our values, not the whims of external forces. In embracing Stoic principles, we learn that life's difficulties are not obstacles to our happiness but opportunities for growth and transformation. Moderation, honesty, and integrity allow us to live authentically, making decisions that reflect our highest aspirations. Courage, born from a clear understanding of our values, empowers us to face challenges head-on, knowing that every trial is an opportunity to become stronger. Acceptance of fate, far from passive resignation, becomes the foundation for peace, enabling us to meet life with a calm heart and an open mind, knowing that we are in control of how we respond, no matter what. As you continue your self-discovery and personal growth journey, I encourage you to incorporate these Stoic teachings into your daily life. It may not always be easy, but the rewards are immeasurable. With each step, you build the foundation for a tan indeed own life, one that is guided by wisdom, tempered by virtue, and grounded in peace. If you found this exploration of Stoicism valuable and want to continue learning how to live a life of greater clarity and strength, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Here, we will continue diving into timeless principles of philosophy, offering insights that can help you grow, thrive, and live purposefully. Together, let's embrace the wisdom of the ancients and walk the path of Stoicism, one step at a time. Thank you for joining me today. May you find the strength and wisdom to face each day with the Stoic resolve to live your best life.